Good evening, guys. In this session, we are going to discuss about a couple of database related stuff. I mean, database moving of database objects or jobs, logins, or whatever it is. If you see, there is a separate set here. You can see transfer database task, transfer error messages task, transfer jobs, transfer logins, transfer stored process, transfer something else. Okay, and let's discuss about all these things in one set. Why? Because everything is very closely related. Okay, so if you see all the names, you have the word transfer. So you are going to transfer. You are going to transfer something to some other place from source to destination. So obviously you need two servers. Two connection managers. One is source and another one is destination. So there are so many connection managers here. Okay, I'll delete it after the session. So here, till now we dealt with the moving of data, right? Import, export wizard, moving data from one server to another server. But these options, it will help you in moving the database objects like databases or error messages or jobs, logins, and so on. So you need two different instances or two different servers. So what I have done is I have installed two instances here. The default instance, that is localhost. This is the default instance. I logged into the default instance, and you can see there are some databases 1 2 3 4 5 blah blah blah, and the next instance is localhost / SQL_dev. This is the instance I have taken, and you can see it has only two databases or three databases. And here in this instance I have SQL Server database, AdventureWorks related databases. So whenever you install SQL Server, I thought I showed you this, but I think I forgot. I mean, let me show you again. In C drive, in program files, there will be a folder called Microsoft SQL Server, and if you go inside this, you will have data related to every instance. For example, if you see here, folders related to every instance and every tool. MS SQL means SQL Server related. So you have two. One for default instance, that is default instance is MS SQL Server. That's the default instance. So whenever you install for first time, it will ask, okay, there is no instance in your computer. Shall I proceed with the default instance? You can go ahead with that, or you can provide some name. Or if you install with the default instance, and next time when you're gonna install, it will ask what is the instance name you're gonna provide. Why? Because already a default instance is available. So here, this is the named instance. I have given the name as SQL_dev. In the same way you have for RS and IS. Now if you go for here into this, there will be folder MS SQL, and there you will find backups, data, install, and jobs, logs, different folders. We need to know about this data. This data is the folder where you will have all the log files and main database files, that is MDF files and LDF files. If you see AdventureWorks data and log, AdventureWorks DW data and log. So this is MDF file and this is LDF file. This is MDF, this is LDF. So every database is having its own MDF and LDF file. So these are the databases available in default instance. Now if I go to the another instance, that is SQL dev instance, there will be same kind of folder structure. So here you can see the named instance folder, data folder where you have different MDF and LDF files. Now let's start with it. Let's take transfer database task. What it means, the name itself is saying clearly that you are going to transfer databases from one server to another server, or one instance of SQL Server to another instance of SQL Server. As I don't have another server connected in my intranet, I'll go for instance to instance. So this transfer database is simply what it says is it will copy that MDF file and LDF file from the default instance to, or the instance wherever it is available, to whatever the destination instance you are going to give. For example, if you set the source as default instance, and if you try to transfer AdventureWorks DW database, it needs to copy that MDF and LDF files here, right, into the destination instance. Let's see, I keep this folder open, and let me configure this. What are the different properties available and how to configure? Let me show you that. So first I'm ignoring. Second thing, the source connection. I have to set the source connection. Let me go for new connection. Localhost is the connection. I'll go for Windows authentication. Let me test it. It is successful. That means the connection is correct. And here I'm setting localhost / SQL dev. This is the instance, right? So let me test it. Even this is connected properly. So both source and destination is good. Now let me change it. I'll make it as localhost / I'm giving instance name to. I told you, right? Default instance name is MS SQL Server. I think I have to give dot, not localhost. It's going for a toss. Okay, let me go with localhost itself. Okay, I'll cancel this and I'll go with the localhost too. Now, the second property that you need to set is what you are gonna do. You are gonna copy or you are gonna move. I'm gonna copy for now. Okay, I'm gonna copy one database to another database, and the next one is method. What you want to do? You want to do it online or offline? Online means the database will be available. It will not be detached. It will be directly copying the data to the destination server. Whereas in offline, it will detach, it will copy and then attach back. So detaching means it separates with the server and do the job, and then it will attach back to the server. So if you go for online, you will not have this option like reattach source database if any error occurred. If there is any error, if you want to reattach or you want to leave it like that, that's the property which will be enabled only when you select database offline method. Now let me select the database name. I'll select AdventureWorks DW, and destination database is the same, and let me select the files here. So if you see, this is pointing to source files. This is MS SQL Server is default instance. This is source, right? So what we have to do is we have to set it as SQL _ dev. And here the destination folder will be the same hierarchy. It will have the folder structure will have the same hierarchy, but the only difference will be MS SQL 10.SQL dev in the dev instance, SQL dev instance, and for the other one it will be MS SQL server instance. So now I set the properties. Like if you see, I set almost all the important properties: source connection, destination connection, and what action, what method, and what is the source database, destination database. And let me set overwrite. If there is a database available already in the destination, I would like to overwrite it. So let me execute it. So this is the folder, destination folder, and you can see the files are getting copied into the destination folder, right? And the process is still going on, but you can see the files, AdventureWorks DW data file and log file is being copied, and it is going to complete the process of moving the database from source to destination. And it is successful. So that means the database is copied from source to destination using online methodology. Now let me go to SQL Server and check whether it is copied or not. This is the destination, localhost / SQL dev. Let me refresh it, and you can see AdventureWorks DW is copied. Now I set the option as overwrite if the destination is available. So if I re-execute it n number of times, it should not create any problem. Why? Because I'm asking here. You can see in the output window, transfer database task, it is doing overwriting the database AdventureWorks on the destination server. It's already available, so it is overwriting it. Let's see how much time it is going to take. It may take some time to finish the task. So it is successful, and overwrite the destination database, you have to set it properly. If you want to overwrite the database, you will be you will be executing this particular task very frequently, and if you need to overwrite it at the destination, then you need to set it to true. If you don't want to override, then you have to set it to false. 1 second. Let's see what the error message is. It's saying already exists in the database destination. Okay. So this is one option, that is online methodology. Now let's go with database offline methodology. So I've selected offline, and I'll set already there is a database in the destination, right? So I'll make it as destination data override, and here I'll copy. This is source. I'll point to the source. Okay, I have to point to the source files. So it is in, that is MDF and LDF files here. Don't get worried. So I have to go to C drive, program files, and go to SQL Server, and in that the source is MS SQL Server instance. So let me go to MS SQL Server, and let me select data. This is the folder where I have the information, and let me copy the same to the LDF file. So I set the source. Now let me go and set the destination files. So I've selected this, I've pasted the same, but I'm gonna change the instance to SQL dev, and I'm gonna copy the same here. So now I've set the source and destination, and I'm gonna click and if you want to reattach the source, if it fails, source database, I'll set it to true. Let me click on OK. Now I changed that instance, right? SQL underscore dev. Don't I think you have some, I mean, you might get confused there. So what is the difference is, this is the path where I have MDF files and LDF files of SQL dev instance, right? Now I'm gonna open one more, C drive, program files, Microsoft SQL Server. The instance is SQL Server, blah blah, and data. And if you see the difference between paths of these two, this is C program files, everything is same, MS SQL Server 10.SQL underscore dev, whereas for this one MS SQL 10.MS SQL Server is the instance. So that is the one I'm changing. If you don't understand what I'm changing there, just for you guys, I have explained this particular path. Now, hope you understood it. What the path I was changing when I was setting at the source and under the destination. Now, if I execute it, will it be successful or it will throw error? Any guess? I'm executing it. Answer it at the earliest. Successful one here. It's not an error. And most of you guys answered error, right? So the destination override is set to true. Attach this one is true, and copy, everything is set properly, and the source and the destination is set properly. But I'll tell you, okay, this is also fine. Now let me, I'm re-executing it. I'll tell you, as a good practice, it's always go for a network shared path while giving the files in the offline mode. Okay, this is offline mode. I said to offline mode, right? Database offline mode. So if you go to the databases, and if you go to this, the path where you have that MDF and LDF files, so this is the network file share path. This is fine. You don't have problem, right? But few cases while moving it to the production and all, it's always good practice to go for network file share path. So network file share path will be something like this. Can you see? This is the server name, C colon, it will be C dollar, and so on. So if I click on this, it will take me to the same folder. But this is network file share path. Okay, this is how we can give network file share path. So let's try giving like that. And the instance I'm changing, this is SQL dev instance I have. I'll change it to MS SQL Server. Here also I'll change it to MS SQL Server instance. I'm setting the source. So the network file share path, what you need to do is you have to give the server name, and see it will be $, and where is that slash missing, Kranti? There is nothing missing, right? So this is fine. So the source is set, and let me set the destination to this is also set. You click here, it is going to the same one. So this is why this is in server, you don't know where it will be, right? So that is why it's all, I mean, if it is online mode, then that means you know in which database it is connecting, and you don't need to worry about. The database will tell you where the MDF file and LDF files are available. But in network share, sorry, in offline mode, it will be detached, and then it will be looking for MDF and LDF files in the path whatever you are going to specify. So it's better to go for server name and all. So in your development environment, it can be in C drive or yeah, C drive some path. Okay, while giving path dynamically to the production one, it's always better to go for network share path when you are dealing with offline methodologies. So we are good with the transfer database task. We have transferred the databases, and let's see one quick thing. Okay, before ending and moving to the next task, let's see the move task, right? Move database. Let's try with that one too. So I'll set the source as same, destination as same. Instead of copy, I'm setting move, and I'm setting AdventureWorks DW. Okay, and here also, sorry, I'm setting AdventureWorks. I'm setting AdventureWorks, and let me set the files. It will be the same path, right? Even the source and the destination, it will remain the same, but the files will vary. The source is AdventureWorks. Okay, this is set. Let me copy it here and change the instance. MS SQL server. So now I'm asking the server to move the database AdventureWorks, not DW. I'm repeating, just AdventureWorks, to, let me set it to online mode. That's easy, right? Instead of going for offline mode. And the destination files, it should be AdventureWorks DW underscore log file. Okay. Now let's see. I'm moving the database from source to destination. Let me click on execute. So here if you see, it's successful and the transfer is done, and the transfer of AdventureWorks DW database, I changed from AdventureWorks to AdventureWorks DW, and AdventureWorks DW database has been moved to the destination. Can you see? It's available here. So the only difference between move and copy is copy just copies, whereas move it will copy and then it will delete the source. Okay, and you will be getting some issues like deletion failed, deletion of the source database failed, and so on. That is because of somebody will be having a connection with the particular database which you want to move from the source. If anyone is connected to the source and accessing data from the source database which you are moving to a new server, so then you have to close those connections. So what generally people will do is they'll close the connections, or they will have a quick restart of the server. Now you can see the data files, MDF and LDF files, will be moved to the new one here. And if you go to the old, default instance server, you will not have that AdventureWorks DW. AdventureWorks DW data and log files are missing, which is moved to the new instance. So this is how you can move. If you don't want to maintain the source copy, prefer move, else go for copy of the database. Now let me disable this and let's go with the next task, that is error messages task. What is a transfer error messages? So I hope you guys know that there is a system error message, or the messages which is used by the system whenever it encounters any particular error. So let me go to the database and I'll show you where these error messages will be there. I'll connect to this one default instance, and if you go to select star from sys dot messages, you can see there will be some messages. Let me order it based on order by message ID. If you see, there will be a lot of messages, system messages, like 21 means this is one error. So there will be a chance of getting a particular error or some error message is already defined for this particular language. The language ID is 1046, and the same error message will be there for different language. 1028 it is this error, and in 1042 language this is. So the SQL server is multilingual, right? If Chinese guy is using the same, he has to get error message in this one. He wants to get. So if he sets his local system settings, language system settings to, language settings of the system to Chinese, then he will be getting error messages in this, by using the language ID 1042. In the same way, the actual English error message is like warning, fatal error, %d occurred at %s_date, note the error and time, and contact your system administrator. So like that, there will be lot of system error messages, predefined system error messages. So this will be there in every database. Whatever the database instance you install, you will be having the same stuff. So if I copy the same query and paste it in the different instance, you'll find the same error message set. You can see, right? The same 21, blah, 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 and so on. 97,528 error messages are there. And if you see, the message ID is important here. The message ID, it is reserved for what I can say, for the system. Okay, for system server error messages, it is reserved up to 50,000. So Microsoft will be adding new error messages in future releases and so on. It is reserved until 50,000. So you can add your custom error messages. Let's say you have a stored procedure, or let's say you have some hundreds of functions or stored procedures, and whenever it is divided by 0, you want to show some custom message like, man, do you have brain? You are trying to delete some value divided with 0. Okay, so you want to show some custom message like this. So what you can do is you can insert one error message here, and you will get this ID, right? This ID can be used to show the error message whenever there is a error like divided by 0, you can show the custom error message whatever you want. So what is the advantage is, like you can have your own text for this, like what you want to show. For example, you have a condition check to check whether the product ID is valid or not, and you have this in hundreds of stored procedures. So in every stored procedure, writing this is invalid product ID is not the best option. Why it is not the best option? If you need to change the text, you have to change it in all the 100 stored procedures. So what you can do is you can add a custom error message here, and you can refer to this side. If any text is changed, then you can change the text whenever a new text has come. And let me add couple of error messages, and I'll show you how to add, and which is not required for you guys for this SSIS. But I'll give you a little hint on how the error messages can be added. SP add message. What is the? I'll go for 50,003. Language is one setting I'm doing, and currently if you get any error in SSIS, then show this. So I'm executing this, and you can see the command executed successfully. If I give it as 50,000, what will happen? I'm giving it as 50,000, and you can see user defined error message must have an ID greater than 50,000. So up to 50,000, it is reserved for Microsoft. You cannot add anything with the ID less than or equal to 50,000. Now I have added one error ID, right? Error message. So as this is not specific to any particular database. You can see this is, I accessed it from master database here. This is not specific to either AdventureWorks or something like that. It is generalized throughout the server. So all these databases can use whatever the error messages that are available in this. This is generic to the server. So whenever you move any database, these error messages will not be moved. Let's say you have one database in which you have thousands of tables and you move the database to the new server, then all the tables will be moved. Complete database will be moved, but not these error messages. All the error messages that you have created in the database will not be moved. So you need to move it using the package. So now this is about error messages. I hope you got little idea about what is error message and how to add it and where you can see it. Now let me show you how to configure, how to move the error messages from source to destination, and for that you have to go select the source and select the destination to where you want to move. And what if the destination object exists? Just skip it. If it is already there, you want to skip, you skip it, or overwrite, you overwrite it, or you want to fail the task, you can fail the task. Let me skip it. Let's say already there is 50,001, 50,002 records in both the servers, so I want to skip it and I want to add only the new one, or whatever the one I'm gonna push from server 1 to server 2, that is default instance to SQL_dev instance in our case. If it is available, then it will skip. And transfer all error messages. That means if you set it to true, all the error messages which is having value greater than 50,000, that is 50,001, 50,002, 50,003 and so on, everything will be transferred if you set it to true. Or if you want to set it based on specific language, you can use this option. Specific language. You can select all these three belongs to English US. Okay. Or if you want to select any particular one. Let me select if I want to move this. If you get any error message, something like that, 50,003, right? I want to move this to the destination. So I have selected it. So these are the properties you need to set to move the error messages. Let me execute it and see whether the error message will be moved to the new server or new instance database or not. The task is successful, and let me connect to the database and let me go to this is source, right? This is where we had the data. Fine. Let me execute the same in the destination. This is the destination SQL Server dev instance, and you can see it's moved to the dev instance too. And if you observe here, I'm pointing to AdventureWorks TW. So that means this error message set is not specific to any particular database in a server. It is specific throughout the server, all the databases in the server. So this is how you can move the error messages from one server to another server. Whenever you move the database or whenever you copy the database, most of the time you need to copy the error messages too. So this is very useful task. Or else wherever you are referring to your error ID, okay, let's say you move database A from server 1 to server 2, and this database A is using some custom error messages like 50,003, 50,005, 50,007 and so on. In this new server, you will not find those error messages. So when you try to execute stored process, then it will lead to some errors, right? It will search for that error message, nothing will be there and so on. So to avoid such confusion and issues, you have to move the error messages too. It depends on whether you have any custom error messages, user defined error messages or not. If there is, then you have to go for this task too. Okay, I disabled it. That means we are good with that. Now let's jump into the transfer jobs task. What is job and how many of you guys know about job? So for these jobs, if you want to deal with jobs, you need to have SQL Server agent. So let's say this is my server, right? This is my source server, right? If you go to SQL Server agent, under that you will find jobs. There is nothing, there is only one default job. It will be available in both the servers. Wherever you have SQL Server instance installed, you will have this default job. So a job generally used to trigger packages. You can configure, you can schedule like once in a day or once in a minute, or call this, or it will have a set of statements or set of steps which will be executed at a particular interval of time. Whatever the interval what we set, that particular interval of time, it will execute. So it will be very lengthy, I mean very long discussion to discuss to explain about the jobs. I'll give you a simple hint how it looks to get a little picture about what is job. So if you right click on this, you can add a new job. So that means you are adding a new functionality which will be triggered as per the schedule you set. So here give the name of the job, testing, and remaining owner and all, who is the author and all. Next important thing is steps. What are the steps you want to execute? So you have to click a new step, and in this new step you have to give the step name. I'm giving it as test, and what you want to execute. You want to execute TSQL script, that means any SQL statement like insert into or delete into or something like that. Okay, or this one, SQL Server Integration Service Package or Analysis Services Query or Analysis Services Command, that is GDL statements, or transfer transaction log. You have so many options. So let me go for one simple statement in let's say I'll go for master database. Select star from sys messages. Okay, so this is one step. Like that you can have 10 steps. One step can be SQL Server, one step can be analysis services, one step can be something else. Now in the schedules, you can create a schedule when you want to execute it, like every minute every minute schedule, and I'll set it as records every daily, every day. You can set it to every minute also. Okay, here it is. Occurs every 1 minute starting at 12 AM to 11:15 AM. So it will be executing, and when you want to end this, the start date is from today and no end date. That means it will continue. Okay, now this is a scheduled job. If I execute this, if I want to execute it manually, then start job at step will start it. It failed. Okay, don't worry. Why? Because I have written some junk statement there. I'm just explaining you what is job and how the job can be. And in real time, there will be very complex jobs written. And it's mainly a SQL Server developer job to configure and create the steps. But it's always good to have an idea about SQL Server jobs. Now I've created one job that with the name testing. Now, like this, in a project which deals only with job, there will be something around 300 to 400 jobs. So it will be running every minute. At least 10 jobs will be running every minute. So there are so many projects which deals only with jobs. Okay. Now let me show you how we can transfer the jobs from source to destination. So I'm setting the source as the same SQL Server instance and destination as dev instance, SQL Server dev. You want to transfer all the jobs? No, I don't want to. And what is the job list? You can see there are two different jobs. One is default one, which will come with all the installations. And now I want to move the second job. And what you want to do if the job exists, then skip it if the job is exists. Or if you want to overwrite it, you can try overwrite it. And the last option is enable jobs at the destination. That means do you want to enable it or disable it? See, let's say there is a job which triggers for every 1 minute. So when you move it, when you schedule to move the jobs tonight, and by the time you come tomorrow morning, every job will be triggered some hundreds of times. So by default, it will be disabled if you set it to false. Until you enable it, it won't start, it won't trigger. Even it is scheduled to run, it won't run until you enable it. Or if you want to enable it after copying, then you can set it to true. I'll show you the difference. Now I set the configuration, I set the properties. Let me execute it and see whether it works fine. I mean whether it will be successful or one or not. So it shows green. We are good. Now let's go and see whether the job is copied to the destination or not. You can see the job is copied. The job name is testing, and it should have one step, and this has one step, and this is the so and so. Okay, and here You can see an arrow mark down, right? That means it is disabled. Let me delete it and let me set the property to enable it on transfer. Like whenever you move, whenever the transfer is done, let me enable it. That is true. I set it to true. Now see the difference. What will happen after the transfer of job is done. So it is completed. Let me refresh the jobs in the destination server instance, and you can see this is enabled now. There is no error mark. That means it will start triggering. And this one, we schedule it for every 1 minute, right? You can go and see the history, view history, how many times it has triggered till now. So for every 1 minute, it is triggering. See, it is successful. Every time it is successful, it is this one tick mark means it is successful. So it triggered and one step executed, and that is just selecting of data. You can see the complete details here. The job succeeded. The job was invoked by schedule 9, executed as NT user so and so so and so. The step succeeded. Like that, if you have hundreds of steps, sorry, 10 steps, and it will give you where it failed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4 is passed, and fifth one is failed, means you will get a red mark there showing that this is failed, and you will get an error message here saying that this is the reason for the failure. Now it's been 1 minute, right? If I refresh, there should be one more. You can see 5 now, right? Let's see the destination. This is enabled after transfer. There should be at least one here. It's not at 1 minute completed, or let's see. It will come. Let's see that. Let's revisit it again after 5 minutes. So this is how you can move the jobs from one server to the another server. Yeah, I mean, you won't get this here. Why? Because the agent is stopped. The agent is not running. So to execute the jobs, the agent should be running. Let me start this agent, and then let's see whether it triggers for every 1 minute or not. Now you can see I started the agent and it started triggering the job. And for every minute, you can expect one new record here. So we have transferred the jobs to. Let me disable this. And let me move the master stored process first. So master stored process means nothing but the stored process that are present in your master database. Let's see whether we have anything in our source. I'm setting the source as the same one again, and destination as the same like last task. And I'm gonna skip it or overwrite it. Let me overwrite it this time if there is anything already available there. So I'm going for false. Let me check for correction. There is no stored process available in the master database. So let me go on create one stored process at least to demonstrate this. So I'm selecting new. I'm creating a stored process. Test P as select star from this dot messages. I'm randomly taking some values here. I was talking. I was talking about sys messages, right? That's why I'm taking this table here. There is nothing like whether I have to take only this table or something like that. I created one stored procedure called test SP, and it is working fine. Now let me go on see. Let me go on set the stored procedure moving options from source to destination instance. So let me overwrite it if it is available, or better skip it if you don't want to overwrite the stored procedure. And here you can see it is showing the test SP is available for moving from source to destination. There is nothing much difference compared to the previous one and this one, like error messages one and this one. Now let me execute it, and you can see the movement is successful. Now let me go to the destination server, that is localhost / SQL server in master database. Let me copy the same and execute it. It is executing. Why? Because the stored procedure is copied from source to destination. So this deals with only the stored procedures that are present in the master table, and it will master database, and it will take all the stored procedures available in that and push it into the destination master databases. And This is about the task, and let's go to the next one. Okay, let me disable it. And let's take the next one, that is transfer SQL Server objects task. This one will give more power than the remaining stuff. Here you can transfer any one object, or object means there are so many objects available in SQL Server like tables, views, stored procedures, functions, and so on. So the first property you have to set is source connection. And here in this one, you can move the data from the same database, from one server, one database in server A to a different database in server B. That means this is across databases. It is not across different servers. So you can set the source and destination as same. But the only thing is the databases should be different. Like I'm taking from Windows LT as source and I'm moving to AdventureWorks. So I'm from the same server instance, I'm moving some objects from Windows LT database to AdventureWorks database, or I can select a different one. It depends on my requirement, right? The destination can be different one. And here destination, this is very important. The drop objects first means. So let's say I'm trying to move a table from this database to this database. If the destination is already available, so do you want to drop it? Yes or no? So if you want to drop it, you have to set it to true. Else it will throw an error saying that it's failed because the destination is already available. So let's try with false first. And included extended properties means it depends on the object that you are moving. If the object is having any extra properties that needs to be carried, it will be taken with the transfer. And copy data means whenever you are moving a table, if you want to copy the data, okay, if you want to copy the data also, not only the table structure, but also the data, then you have to go for this option. And copy schema, you know, it will copy the schemas of it. If a table belongs to any particular schema, or stored procedure belongs to any particular default schema is DBO, and you can create your own schemas like employees dot the table name, employees dot another table name. So schema means that one. And use collation means it's a call for column collations. It's just like settings here, column settings and so on. You can leave it to true, better go with true always. Include dependent objects means if you are trying to move XYZ table, and if this table is dependent on another one, then you want to move that one also. All the dependent objects will be moved to the destination if you set it to true, but always better set it to false. And destination copy options is, do you want to copy everything? That means all the objects from the source to destination. You will set to false in 90% of the cases if you deal with this task. Why? Because it has so many objects to transfer. Can you see? Copy tables, views, stored procedures, user-defined functions, all defaults, default-defined databases, user-defined databases, partitions, partition schemas, assemblies, blah, blah, blah. There will be whatever the object that is available as part of a database, it is given here. So let's see with a table copying from source to destination. I'm gonna select or copy product table, and the schema, this is the schema. The general one, it will be DBO. Here it is sales LT is the schema. I want to move these from source to destination. Okay, let me close this. And security, if you want to copy database users from the existing from source to destination. Let's say source is having access to 10 users and destination is having access to only 2 users. And if you want to copy the users also, it will copy. Roles, it will copy. Logins, it will copy. Object level permissions, everything you want to copy. By default, it will be set to false. And if you want to copy everything, you can set it to true. And copy indexes of the table. If a table is having indexes, triggers, text indexes, all DRI objects, primary keys, foreign keys, scripts, okay. So every generate scripts in Unicode means you want to generate the scripts in Unicode. So if you see while moving the table, it is providing you an option, so many options, like whether you want to copy everything or not. In the same way, you have different objects here. So if you, whatever the default values, for most of the things the default values will be set, but based on your requirement. Let's say you want to copy triggers for the table, then you have to take this one as true. I don't think there will be triggers for the table. And if you want to copy any indexes, I think there will be some indexes, so I need to set to true. First let me execute moving the copy, moving the table from source to destination, and then we can see, we can explore little more options in the same. Okay, good, it failed, and let me see. Either does not exist. Yeah, it is saying the schema name as sales LT does not exist. I showed you, right? The schema that this table belongs to is sales LT. Okay, and now copy schema. I set to true, and here you have an option called schema list, right? So let me select this, and what is the schema? This is schema, right? So let me set this schema to. Now let me try. So I've not selected the schema. So it was saying that there is no schema available in the destination. Let's see now. So now if you see, the data table is moved from source to destination, and you can see the same if you check in the sales data. I mean, in the destination. What is the database we selected? What is the destination database we selected? I think it's AdventureWorks. Let me try to select it. You can see here in the server, in the AdventureWorks database, that AdventureWorks database, that is what we set as data destination, right? So the sales LT dot product table is copied or moved, I can say. So sales LT is the schema, whatever we have taken, and product is the table name, right? And if you want to move the data, I said don't move the data, right? If you want to move the data, what you have to do is you have to set this one as copy data to true. So I've set the database drop objects first, means if the table is already available, then it will copy it. And I set the copy data to true, and I also set copy schema to true. Schema means nothing but the select the create statement of the table. The schema of the table will be copied, or schema of the store, whatever you select, whatever the object you are going to select, the schema will be copied. Now let me execute it to move the data also into the destination. Okay, it is successful. Now let me go to the database table, database query analyzer, and let me execute the sales LT dot product. So now I specified that while moving, don't only move the schema, move data also. So that is why it is moving data. In the same way, you will find lots and lots of options, lots and lots of objects that you can move to the destination. Let me select another one. Let me see whether I have any views. I have view get all categories. Okay. Let me execute it. So this view is creating problem. The reason is invalid object name sales LT dot product category. The table that is being used by the view is not available in the destination. So how we can solve this kind of issues? If you don't know, right, what table is being referred by a particular view, you will not have complete picture. So I think this include dependent objects means it will include all the dependent objects. Let's say that view is dependent on a table, so it will try to move the dependent objects too. Let's see the same. So now the database table and the view is moved, and when you set, be careful when you set this include dependent objects, there will be a lot of dependent objects. Okay, all the dependent objects will be tried to move. Let's say you are moving one table, and if you give reference as that particular table SPN, and it will give you all the dependent objects that are on this particular table. Okay, and if you see, I think there is an option to see all the dependent objects. Okay, there is a stored procedure, system stored procedure in every database. You will find it. Stored procedures under system stored procedure, you will find sp underscore find reference or some 1 second. sp underscore. These are all the system stored procedures which will come with by default. So to find all the references, generally every company will go for, there will be some default stored process, system stored process which you can use, but I don't find it now. So, and all the companies will write their own stored procedure which will give all the references. For example, this is one of the example. You can see sp underscore find all references. The one written will fetch whatever the text you are giving. This text is used in what are all objects. You can see it is used in AdventureWorks LT in 3 different objects. One is user defined function, and one is table function, one is view, and another one is also view, the one I created, right? So this is just I created. So there will be some way to find all the references. So if you give any name, it will give all the references where all it is using. So it is using in this and it is using in this. So whenever you try to give all the references, pull all the references to, like by selecting include all the dependent objects, then it will pull all the dependent objects to the destination server. So one quick thing before we end the session, that is transfer logins. So what is this logins? If you see, let me connect to the SQL Server. If you go to the security, under logins, you will have all the users logins. Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 users are there. Whereas in the main server default instance, I've added one extra login here just to demonstrate an example. The extra login is Rupesh, and it's nothing but a user of your system. If you have a user, let's say I've created one user, and you can create 10 users in the same system to test the same, to try out the same. So now I want to move the users from source to destination. Like you can see, this user is not available in the destination. Now I want to move that guy to the destination. Let's see how we can configure. This is pretty. See, all these transfer jobs will be very close. I mean, these are very closely related, and you can easily find the similarity. Like for everything, you need to set the source first, and everything you need to set the destination. And the third step is, as per the name says, logins to transfer. You want to transfer all logins or selected one, or all logins from selected databases. So I'll go for selected one. If you select the third option, databases, the database list will be enabled, but the logins list will be disabled. So let me go with the second option, and let me select the user that I want to move, the one which I newly created, just to demonstrate this task. So click on OK. And what I have to do if the task is, if the guy is already available, then skip it. And SID means any secured ID, security identifiers. If there is any security identifiers related to this user, then you want to move that one or not. You can set either true or false. It depends on the requirement. First, let me execute and move the guy to the destination server. So, and if you observe all these transfer jobs, it is like what I can say, same set of properties or very similar set of properties. Will not, if for example, if you take jobs, the source will be there, the destination will be there, and what jobs you want. And if you take login, source, destination, and what login. So if you see, all these things are very closely related. And that is why I have opted to explain everything in one session. And let's see, the task is successful. Let's see whether the guy is moved to the destination or not. So where is the destination server? Okay, here it is. And this is the logins list. Let me refresh it before seeing whether he is copied or not. And I refreshed, and you can see the user has been copied to the destination. So this is how. See, let's say whenever you're moving one database to from one server to the another server, you also need to move the logins. So all these tasks are related, interrelated. For example, you can't simply move the database. You need to move all the jobs, all the error messages, or all the logins who is having access, or any master stored process. So all these things are, if you use one, then you are going to go with all the remaining, else you will not be using anything. So that is how the case will be in most of the cases. So this is about the transfer related, transfer database or transfer job, transfer logins, transfer store, master store process, SQL Server objects task. And in next session, we'll be covering the remaining control flow items with which we are going to put an end and going to discuss about data flow task after that. And if you see, there are a couple of extra tasks available here, maintenance like backup. So this is mainly the DBO task. Now they have added tasks for all this stuff also, for like taking the database backup, or taking the or syncing the database, the last but one task, or rebuilding indexes, which will improve the performance of the tables, or update statistics task, or maintenance cleanup, or history cleanup. So all these tasks, actually before these tasks were in, we were using commands, dbcc commands. Okay, dbcc commands. So now it will be tasks for everything. So we'll be covering all the remaining control flow tasks except the data flow. So the data flow will start from day after tomorrow, and as part of the data flow, we'll be covering all the transformations. With the completion of data flow, we will be like 80% complete, and after that there will be a couple of sessions for deployment, as well as performance tuning one session, and finally logging and all the remaining stuffs. Okay, that's it for today's session, and practice the same whatever we have discussed in this session, and catch you tomorrow in next session. Thank you guys. Have a nice day.